On this episode of Terrier Nation, we recap the many successes of BU's winter sports teams, including a history-making run in the Patriot League tournament. We'll check in and see how some of our fall sport athletes are faring in the spring, and we'll review some of the biggest successes in the month of March. All that and more on this episode of Terrier Nation. Welcome to this episode of Terrier Nation. I'm Jacob Lintner, and we've just made it through another hectic, overlapping month of February and March where winter and spring sports collide. And that time was made all the busier with the shifting schedule of fall sports now occurring in the spring season. We'll touch on that a little bit later, so for now, let's focus on the progress and perseverance of our winter sports teams through their wildest season yet. Starting with men's basketball, Coach Jones kicked off his 10th season at the helm with a bang, an 83-76 comeback win at Holy Cross. But the season didn't get much better from there. All the back-to-back games wore down the young team, and inconsistent scheduling and pauses didn't help the matter. But the stars shone brightly. Javante McCoy and Walter White earned all-league second and third team honors respectively, while Suk Matone and Jonas Harper landed on the all-defensive team. Matone's 3 blocks set the tone in the team's first-round win over Lehigh in the Patriot League tournament, but their season ended in a quarterfinal loss to eventual champion Colgate in the next game, leaving Coach Joe Jones with plenty of motivation to take into next season. And speaking of motivation, there were plenty of highlights for our 2 hockey teams this season. Paige Mottner's here to break down the best moments for each squad. Paige?
Thanks, Jacob. Unfortunately, both our men and women's hockey teams were pushed out of the Hockey East tournament in the quarterfinal round. The 6-seeded women fell to Providence in a 4-3 decision, while the men's team lost 2-1 to UMass Lowell on March 14th. While the women's season has come to a close, the men will continue to play in the NCAA tournament. And what better time to reflect on some of the best moments of their seasons than right now? Starting with the women, one of the best moments has to be their first game and win of the season against New Hampshire. I got to talk to senior captain Jessie Comfer, and she explained how after so many setbacks and quarantines and all the time and effort put into getting the team to that first game, the feeling of finally being out on the ice and cop a win was indescribable. Another highlight of the season would have to be the Terriers' first win over Boston College back on February 19th. Trailing a team as deep as BC by 2 goals before the second period is tough for any team. But BU bore down and showcased their depth on the ice with the freshman class recording 3 points on the game. The Terriers completed the comeback and won the game 3-2, capped by Comfer's game winner with 40 seconds remaining. She said it was awesome to see the underclassmen make such a positive contribution and really showcase their skills. Lastly, we have to mention Julia Shaughnessy's absolute sniper of a goal during the third period of BU's playoff loss to Providence. Although the women's season ended that day, Shaughnessy can hold onto that first collegiate goal and hope to add on to it next season. Moving on to our men. Let's reflect on their successful regular season as they advance into the NCAA. Not only were we all extremely excited to see that shootouts were reinstated in college hockey, but to win a shootout and end up clinching the number 2 seed in Hockey East tournament was a whole other level of excitement. After an even 60 minutes in a scoreless OT, 3 rounds of a shootout was not enough for a winner to be decided. In the decisive 4th round, Master Simoni pulled a slick toe drag out of his bag of tricks and slid the puck right past the Lowell goalie to clinch the win. We also need to note rookie goalie Vinny Duplessis' first shutout against Vermont on February 12th. He was coming off of a 3-1 win over BC in his first collegiate start the game prior, and he rode that momentum to an 18-save blanking of the Catamounts, while the Terriers were able to find the back of the net early in the third to take the game. Lastly, we have to note rookie Terriers Jay O'Brien hat trick against Vermont the day after Duplessis' shutout. O'Brien dug the Terriers out of an early 1-goal deficit to tie the game in the first period. Then he stole the puck to score unassisted 11 minutes later. He finished BU scoring by punching in his own rebound with 4 minutes left to secure his hat trick. It sure was a lot of fun to watch BU hockey this season. Now, back to you, Jacob.
Thanks, Paige. But if you're still looking for more success and a little bit of history, look no further than BU's women's basketball team. In Coach Marissa Mosley's 3rd season, the team played in and hosted their first ever Patriot League semifinal and championship games. A 20-point win in the semis gave way to their eventual season-ending loss to Lehigh in the championship game 64-54. Our own Sabrina Sladich and Daniel Maltz were watching the season closely to chronicle history in the making.
It may not have started until January of this year, but the 2021 Terriers women's basketball team put together their best season yet, with their entire starting five of Katie Nelson, Riley Childs, Sydney Johnson, Maggie Pina, and Maren Durant returning for a second season together under coach Marissa Mosley. BU looked armed and dangerous in 2021, and they did not disappoint. Despite the new divisions inside the Patriot League, COVID-19 protocols, and the constant uncertainty with scheduling, BU won 5 straight right out of the gate, sweeping a home weekend against Holy Cross and then a road weekend at Colgate before taking Game 1 at Army. Then, after losing 54-43 in the second game of that weekend, postponement after postponement befell the Terriers. That loss to Army came on January 17th, and the Terriers would not take the court again until February 7th against out-of-division Lafayette. The following weekend, the Terriers returned home for their first home game in almost 6 weeks, and for Valentine's Day weekend, they matched up against Army again. February 13th was arguably the best game of their season. 11 different players contributed to the team's 82 points, while the defense looked elite, holding Elisa Fallon and the Black Knights to just 41 points. Then on Valentine's Day, also the Terriers' senior day, Katie Nelson got to double-digit points as the Terriers swept the weekend. BU would then take 2 out of 3 against those Holy Cross Crusaders to close out their regular season at an impressive 10-2. While the starting five excelled throughout the season, with Nelson, Johnson, and Durant netting spots on Patriot League all-conference teams, redshirt junior Emily Esposito spent the season proving that she could make an equally sizable impact on the court. The Villanova transfer had to sit out the last season, but by the end of 2021, she was averaging 29 minutes, 11 shots, 10 points, 4 rebounds, and almost 3 assists per game. Simply put, she became a 6th elite weapon who was doing a little bit of everything for the team. The Terriers looked to carry over their strong regular season into the playoffs, where they faced off against those Leopards of Lafayette College in the first round. Despite having to face 2021 Patriot League Player of the Year Natalie Kukowski, who nearly had a double-double at halftime in that game, BU rode a 22-point fourth quarter to victory. Sydney Johnson had 19 points, including 4 three-pointers, plus 9 assists and 7 rebounds, nearly a triple-double. And her elite play didn't stop there. She drained another 5 three-pointers with 23 total points, all while Riley Childs had a double-double and Esposito set a season high with 16 points in their following game against American to make it to the title game. BU was flying as high as ever heading into their first Patriot League title game. Unfortunately, the Mountain Hawks' incredible depth was enough to halt the Terriers, and BU fell just short of their first title, dropping it 64-54. Despite not reaching the end goal, this season should give the Terriers all the hope in the world for next season. Coach Mosley may be heading north to coach the Wisconsin Badgers, and Katie Nelson may be grad transferring to Wisco as well. But the rest of the core remains in Beantown, and the foundation has more than been laid for sustained success beyond this whirlwind of a season.
Putting an exclamation point on the winter sports season, the BU women's and men's cross-country teams took first and second in the Patriot League this season, respectively. The women's team repeated as conference champions and were led by sophomore Andrea Klassen, who earned all-league first-team honors and became the first BU runner to compete in the NCAA championships since 2014, where she completed the 6K with a time of 21 minutes and 56.5 seconds. Moving forward to the spring, though, the schedules for BU athletics are crowded. In addition to the usual spring sports, the Patriot League has moved field hockey and soccer to the spring, giving those athletes who missed their fall seasons a chance to play now. We caught up with George Abenow of the men's soccer team for some more insight into how his team's prepared to play outside of the regular schedule.
I think there was a lot of uncertainty, even if we were going to be back at school in the fall, yet alone practicing. So starting off in the fall, for the entire fall, we were in groups of 10 due to the protocols that BU had in place. So obviously we didn't have any games. I don't think there was necessarily a disappointment. Obviously, a little bit, everybody wants to play full field 11v11 with each other, and we saw some other schools doing that. But I think at the end of the day, the feeling around the team was that it was just a blessing to be on campus in the fall. And then obviously when the spring came, we were obviously happy that we could play a full season and cheer with each other again. We got to play with guys that we hadn't played with for a very long time. Some of the freshmen even I didn't play with at all in the fall, so I got to see them up close for the first time this spring. So I think definitely it was very good leading up to the season for us. We had a 6-game schedule that was planned, and before the schedule even came out, we were told expect changes to happen, and that happened before our first game even went on. So I think in the past, they give you a 15, 16 game schedule and say, this is what's going to happen. And you play through those games. Now we've got a 6-game schedule, and for all we know, we might not have another game. Obviously, we got off to a great start, and we just want to keep that going. And we don't take any day for granted. Obviously, we had a great game, but we know if we play again, now teams are going to kind of be aware to us, because I think we were picked 8th in the Patriot League, and then we go out and beat the team that's ranked 4th, 3-0. So this is a new era for BU soccer, and we're just very excited this season as well as in the future. So honestly, just can't wait to see what else happens.
Thanks, George. Always appreciate it. Now, both the women's and men's lacrosse teams in the Patriot League have been placed into divisions based on the geography within the conference. And this is done in order to reduce travel. And BU is in the North Division for both sports, placing our teams with Holy Cross, Army, and Colgate on the men's side, and all those same opponents plus Lafayette for the women. It's still early in the season, but the men's team is off to a really good start in a very tough division. Junior Tommy Lay ranks 2nd nationally with 5 goals per game, including 9 tallies in a 16-6 win over rival Holy Cross that pushed his goal-scoring streak to a towering 19 games dating back to his freshman season. Now let's head back to the pitch, where the BU women's soccer team returned to Nickerson this spring for their first home game in 500 days. They closed out a season-opening homestand with a 2-0 blanking of Colgate. The shutout was junior goalkeeper Morgan Messner's 11th in her career. Jenna Oldham scored her first collegiate goal in the 16th minute of that game, and she added an assist for a career-high 3 points and earned Patriot League Offensive Player of the Week honors. That's all for us here on this episode of Terrier Nation. You can keep in touch with us at Terrier Nation BU on Twitter and watch archived episodes at butv10.com. From all of us here, I'm Jacob Lintner saying thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.